4 wonderful Toastmasters giving speeches. Shah is doing an elective speech from Pathways Path, Presentation Mastery of the Project Using Descriptive Language. He will be using descriptive language to describe his experiences with studying the English language in a speech entitled Teacher. Please welcome Toastmaster Shah to the lecture.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, and good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Jack.
Our year is 2019. In the year 2003, I was an 11-year-old boy who had just passed into the next and most exciting step of my life, middle school. Some people say middle school is the most miserable time of a person's life, and on the first day, I realized why. Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson was a harsh, strict disciplinarian, and he was going to be my 6th grade middle school teacher for English. On day 1, he had every student buy the Oxford Dictionary and the Random House Roget's Thesaurus. He was very specific on these 2 books exactly and gave us the specific edition numbers too, and probably the ISBNs, because those were the only books precise enough for his liking. At our first parent-teacher conference about a week, 2 weeks into the school year, Mr. Johnson said to a group of parents, "Any minute your child is at home and not doing homework, should be reading a book. Any minute your child has on the weekend when they're not doing chores or doing homework, they should be reading a book." We hated him. And we were dreading spending the next 8 months with him. But some teacher at that same conference said that every single student from last year who went through Mr. Johnson and 5 other teachers, when asked at the end of the year who their favorite teacher was, every single one said, Mr. Johnson. As time went on, well, first of all, I couldn't believe it. I thought they were nuts. But as time went on, I saw that under his rough exterior was an extremely, extremely kind heart. This man was black, and he lived through the Civil Rights Movement. And he said that he was friends with Martin Luther King. He said one day he had no money, and on his first day at work as an electrician, he showed up 8 minutes late, and his boss fired him on the spot. He asked his dad for money by a telegram, and he waited a couple of weeks, and he got a telegram back that said, no. Mr. Johnson struggled his whole life, and in 2003, when I met him, the only living family member he had lived in Newark, New Jersey, and was part of a gang. He told us these stories about his life as he was teaching us about life as well as literature. He made us read advanced materials such as The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien, which is advanced for a 6th grader. He cared deeply for the students, and all of his strictness was designed to make sure that we were doing the best we could. But his harshness and strictness had a penalty. A lot of the kids stopped caring. It was too tough for them to deal with. One day, the entire class did really badly on a test. He asked why. One of the kids said, he stomached the courage to say, "Mr. Johnson, some of us don't care if we get zeros." And that broke his big heart. And all the wrath and fury that I knew that was inside of him came out. He said, "You don't care if you get zeros? Do you understand how valuable your education is? Do you know how many people have not had these opportunities? You are getting this education for free, and so you can succeed in life, and you don't even care if you get a zero? Why am I even standing here?" I'm scared. After a tirade that lasted 5 minutes, or 10, or 15, kids were crying to themselves. Too scared to be heard, because nobody wanted to break the stone-cold silence in that frozen air. If I were to ask any of my friends today who were there in that classroom 15 years ago, if they remember that day, To this day, everyone would say yes. As months went on, the heart that made Mr. Johnson so strict shone through like a bright light in a dark vacuum of space. The students began to love him because they knew he cared about them deeply. He made jokes, and he gave insights into wisdom that only someone who has gone through extreme turmoil could glean. He was like a father, or like a guide. And the love the kids had for him was far greater than they possibly could have if he were more relaxed, or if he didn't want us to read a book at every waking moment. His job was to change lives, and so he did. And I don't know now if he's still alive. In 2004, he turned 60, and he had already suffered 8 heart attacks. A decade and a half later, I don't know where he is, if he's alive, or if I'll ever see him again. But in the time we were together, he set me on the path of loving English and of being very precise in my studies and precise in my words. Over the course of years, that path brought me here. And on my first day at Toastmasters, August 19th, 2016, I saw Mark Scheer stand right here and give his winning speech about his daughter going off to FSU. And there, I saw my newest mentor sitting in the Toastmaster seat. I didn't know who he was, and I hadn't heard him speak, but I liked him instantly. We got to talking, and when I heard that I needed to get a mentor, I knew immediately it would be him. And he immediately accepted. Over 3 years, I have been regaled by Mr. Ty Patton with extremely long-winded, winding answers to questions I've asked. And I've learned from every minute. Though he's my senior and my mentor, and we know the hierarchy, we talk like we're friends. I went to his house on Tuesday at 8:45 p.m. to work on my American Unity speech, and I left at 11. He has given me years of constructive and critical feedback without ever uttering a word of condescension, vulgarity, or frustration. And he's always believed in me. Over the course of my life, I've had a lot of very, very good teachers, and everyone has laid their mark on my soul and enabled me to perform as I do. For all the things that have happened so far, and all the things that will come in the future, much of it will be thanks to the guidance of Mr. Johnson and Mr. Ty Patton. So, thank you, Ty, and can everybody join me in a round of applause for 38-year-long Toastmaster Ty Patton.
Thank you, Jay.